Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Claudia Simone Dorchin. I'm a PhD in philosophy, and I would like to talk with you today about the meaning of love in the context of philosophical mysticism. What is the meaning of love in the context of spiritual or philosophical mysticism, and why is there an interrelation between love in a certain context and mysticism at all? What does it mean? I will give you a clue. There is one sentence coined by the German mystic Meister Eckhart about the interrelation of mysticism and love. The sentence is as follows: all things equal love each other. What does this explain about the nature and meaning of love within a mystical context? Because in this famous sentence, all things equal love each other, love is meant to be a loving relation or a model of a relation in general between things which are equal. Does this mean there are partners, as in our contemporary point of view, loving partners within a human relation? No. In this spiritual and mystical context, things equal means the human soul and God, or the divine source of the human soul, are things equal. That means there is an equality between the human soul and the center of the soul, which is identical with God as its origin. So, all things equal love each other, this famous sentence by Meister Eckhart, means actually that there is a bond between the human soul and God, and this bond can be described as a loving relation because the human soul and God, or the divine origin of mankind, would be equal, would mirror each other. This is, by the way, the true reason why the image of the mirror is abundantly used in mysticism. If you read mystical works, regardless of the author, may it be a Spanish mystic, French mystic, German preachings, Latin preachings, there is often used the image of the mirror. And the image of the mirror means there is someone seeing his own image, but it is not the reflection of the human face or the human figure in a mirror, but it is the spiritual reflection of the human soul and its divine origin. For the mystical preacher, it is God, who mirror each other because they are equal. So this is the hidden meaning of this sentence: all things equal love each other, the human soul and God love each other because they are equal, and because of this equality they can mirror each other. Apart from this clue given by Meister Eckhart, there are some other ideas of love which are combined with mystical thought. For example, the relation between the human soul and God is often described as the relation between lovers. But in order to understand this, we have to go back to antiquity and ancient Greek philosophy. Love in ancient Greek philosophy has got not only one, but three meanings. Love can be described as either eros or philia or agape. Eros, philia and agape are aspects of love. Eros is erotical love, sensual love. Philia is friendship, And agape is spiritual devotion. Yeah? And in the context of mysticism or mystical preachings, most authors reflect to this ancient Greek threefold definition of love. Yeah? They refer to love as eros, but eros in an allegorical sense, not in itself, but as a mirror of the spiritual union. Or they refer to the meaning of agape as the pure spiritual union of the faithful believer to his or her divinity. Yeah. The notion of philia, friendship, is very seldomly used. Yeah. The two main aspects are eros and agape. And eros, as being sensual love, is meant to be an allegorical image or a mirror, and here we are with the mirror once again, of spiritual love, of agape. This picture of eros as an image or as an allegory of agape is often used by Tauler and by Heinrich Suso. Yeah? If we regard Tauler, Heinrich Suso and Meister Eckhart as some scientists call it, the mystical triumvirate, because they are three eminent mystics in the tradition of mystical philosophy, we can say that the first two, Tauler and Heinrich Suso, oftenly use the picture of sensual love in order to describe the spiritual union between the faithful soul and God, while Meister Eckhart goes a different way. He transcends the image of sensual love, or he surpasses it. Yeah? Sometimes he even omits it. I have to explain something in order to make it more understandable for you. If we regard the mystical preachings of Tauler and Heinrich Suso, we often find the image of the allegorical marriage, the mystical marriage, yeah, or the allegorical bride and bridegroom. Who is the allegorical bride and the allegorical bridegroom, and what is meant with mystical or spiritual marriage? It is just a reference to this image of sensual love, eros, being an allegory for spiritual love, agape, which goes back to antiquity, to Greek philosophy. So the mystical bride is the human soul, and the mystical bridegroom is God or Jesus Christ. Yeah? And therefore, especially Heinrich Suso describes the mystical bride as a beautiful young woman, and the mystical bridegroom, Jesus Christ, as a handsome young man. And the spiritual marriage is also an old symbol out of antiquity, which means that there is a union of the human soul with its source or origin, or with something which transcends it. May it be God or divinity in a theological point of view, may it be some other entity in a skeptical point of view, but skeptics very rarely use mysticisms, by the way. Now, what I meant to say was that Tauler and Heinrich Suso used this image of spiritual marriage, mystical bride, the soul, mystical bridegroom, God or Jesus Christ, in order to describe how love in a mystical context always means spiritual union or devotion, or the recognition of the center of the soul, which is identified with God himself. when Heinrich Suso uses this picture of the mystical union or mystical marriage, he makes a reference to what has been described in the antiquity as so-called hieros gamos. Hieros gamos means holy matrimony. Hieros is holy, sacred, gamos is matrimony. And there has been an antique cult in the temples of antiquity, in the temples of Aphrodite, in the temples of Artemis, in the temples of Astarte in Babylon, and so on, in which a priest and a priestess, incorporating the male and the female aspect of divinity, join hands in mystical matrimony in order to symbolize this union of two forces within divinity. And from this old symbolic context is something of the decorum of the mystical marriage, which is often referred to by Heinrich Suso in a Christian sentence or in a Christian context and Christian meaning. One can say that Christian mysticism refers partly to what has been an element of antique Greek cult and ritual. For example, in regard of holy matrimony, hieros gamos, and all these images which illustrate spiritual development of the soul. But if we see that two members of the so-called mystical triumvirate, John Tauler and Heinrich Suso, actually use this image of holy matrimony and love, sensual love between partners, as an allegory for agape, means spiritual devotion, love of the soul to God. Meister Eckhart does something quite different, because he does not use this image of holy matrimony, he omits it. He just says all things equal love each other, the human soul is equal with its origin and cannot be otherwise, because it derives from the divine origin, and so there is already a union, while other mystics often describe the process of approximating of these so-called lovers, the human soul and God. Meister Eckhart is of the opinion this union has already been formed, even before man has been born. Man is at one with God, with his origin, and therefore love is just something preliminary.